Hi, it's Maisha, and it's the part 4 to rating 2021 mystery thriller releases. The first book we're going to talk about is The Collective. It's about this woman who lost her daughter, and she knows what happened to her daughter and who killed her, but that person is walking free. So she goes to this event where the boy who murdered her daughter is being celebrated. So she like breaks in and yells murderer. And then there's this other woman at this event who gives the mother her card and was like, you should join us. And it's the collective, and it's a group of mothers who takes revenge on people who harm their kids. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 5 stars. This was so fast paced, and the twists kind of blew my mind. And I really agreed with the Ed message because that is how I feel about vigilantism. And yeah, so I was trying to make my friend read it because I thought it was amazing. And he generally likes these really fast paced, twisty thrillers. Then he asked me what it was about, and I was describing the plot to him, and he was like, no, and you scare me. I really, really like a good French story. Like, this was the perfect revenge story. And you also see like the transformation of the mother as she joins the circle too, as she starts realizing the things the circle is doing. So good, so twisty. The last plot twist. You have to suspend your disbelief for a bit while reading this because it is so twisty. But if you're into those like really insane plot twists, pick this one up. Next up, Grave Reservations. This is one of the lighter books. It's about this woman who's a psychic. She saves this detective from a plane crash, and then and the detective is like, "Okay, you have good instincts. I want to hire you." So the detective starts working with her to solve this cold case, and this also ties in with the murder of her ex-fiance. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I enjoyed some of the other light thrillers. I still enjoyed it. I'd give it a 3.5. I really enjoyed some parts of the book. The beginning was a bit too slow, but as it builds, it gets better, and I'm really excited for the second book. Next up, The Man Who Died Twice. It's the second book in the Thursday Murder Club series. It's about these old people who solve murders. This one is about the one of the main characters, Elizabeth, I think. Her husband comes back, and her husband was really involved in a lot of criminal activity, so he has a lot of hidden diamonds, and everyone around her is trying to find it, and she like starts like looking for them. This was really fun if you're looking for a cozy mystery with a quirky group of people. Pick this one up. I would give it a 3 stars. The ending made up for the middle of the book because there was a bit of a lag in the middle where the story kind of dragged. But other than that, the story really was intriguing, and I'll be picking up the next book as well. Okay, next up, As the Wicked Watch. It's about this reporter who is investigating the murder of this black teenage girl, and the police isn't taking the case seriously. She was labeled a runaway even though she was a honor student, and the journalist main character is trying to uncover the truth, and she gets entangled into the case. She gets way too invested, and she basically solves the case. I really enjoyed it. I read it compulsively. This was a really long book, but at no point did I feel like this is slow or this is leading nowhere. I really enjoyed it. I would give it a 4.5 stars. Although I would say there is a lot of the book where it's just focusing on the journalist main character's life. Like, you see her with her personal relationships, you see her with her friends. So it's like building up this character who's going to be featured more in the coming series. So that's why I assume the author chose to put more emphasis on the character, because she is probably going to build her up as the series goes on. So I get why she made that choice. But if you are just looking for a thriller with just the thrilling aspects, this is not it. This is a bit slow at a few points, which I did not mind at all. But if you're looking for something really twisty, mind bending, this might not be it. Okay, next up, the photographer. It's about this woman who is a party photographer, and she like photographs this birthday party for a little boy, and she becomes obsessed with the family as a whole, and she wants to insert herself into the family. It kind of gave me just one look vibes. Very uncomfortable to read because you are watching her stalk them for months, and you're seeing them, and you're seeing her insert herself into the family and the family not catching on. I'd give it a 3 stars. Didn't enjoy the ending as much, honestly, because something happens at the end, like the very last chapter, and I'm like, what? And that's the reason it's not a 3.5, is because of the last tiny bit of the story where it kind of like got away. Okay, next up, The Perfect Family. It's about this family whose house is being egged. Each of the members of the family has a reason why people would target their house. So you're following each of the characters around and seeing what they're doing, what they're up to, and why their house is being egged. I really enjoyed it. A solid 3.5, a really good domestic thriller. Like, there's nothing that's twisted about it. It's pretty straightforward, which is enjoyable at times, honestly, and preferable to something where the author throws 1,000 twists at you and you are just sitting there like. Okay, next up, one of my faves, Last Girl Ghosted. It's about this girl who was ghosted by this guy she met on a dating app, and like their life was perfect and everything was amazing. But one day he just disappeared, and then this private detective comes who was hired by his ex's family because the guy dated that girl as well, and she disappeared along with him. This was really good, in my opinion. You see them building a relationship, and you see her happy, then you see them kind of like break up. This book is written in second person, which was kind of jarring at first, but then you get used to it and it's really fun. One of the earlier twists really shocked me. I was kind of meh about the twists later on. I'd give it a 4 stars because the ending got a bit too twisty for my preference. That's why it's not higher. Okay, the next book is Finding Tessa. It's about this woman who left her ex-husband because he was abusive. You're also following her husband's point of view, and you see him kind of mess up during the interviews that he's giving. Like, think of the Gone Girl when Ben poses. Is his name Ben? No, his name is Nick. Okay, anyway. So when you remember the scene in Gone Girl when Nick poses smiling in front of Amy's picture, think of that. So he's really messing up. You see the public distrust him and you see him become a suspect. There was this plot twist that was like, and I was, okay, so I was like very ready. I was ready to write this one off as a Gone Girl knockoff. But there was a twist that happened like pretty early on that kind of shook me. So I was more invested in that. A 3.5-star read, solid, fun, very fast paced, and it's pretty short as well. So if you want something like fun, short, pick this one up. Next up, Damage. It's a pretty heavy book. So the book starts with the main guy's brother being assaulted after he was seen having drinks with this stranger, and he's in the hospital, and you also follow the point of view of the detective who is on his side, but also there's nothing he can do because the assaulter really covered his tracks. So you're following the family provide support, but also trying to get justice. I would give it a 4 stars. I really like the ending, where the ending happened. The ending kind of shocked me. I wouldn't call it a thriller though. Like, there was not much that was like really fun and fast paced and thrilling. It's more of a character study, and like you see them like grieve and blame themselves and also trying to find justice, but also all the roadblocks that are there when it comes to getting justice for LGBTQ people. Okay, next up, bathhouse. It's about this guy, Oliver, who goes to a bathhouse and he was attacked by this Russian guy, I think. He escaped, but people are following him now, and you kind of like see him paranoid, trying to hide his indiscretions from his husband. You also get his husband's point of view, where he's trying to like trust his husband, but also not being able to because Oliver is acting really cagey. And then like things really escalate. Like you feel the tension, you feel the stakes, and you really feel that something bad is going to happen to Oliver, because it almost does several times throughout the book. If you want something that would keep you at the edge of your seat the entire time, pick this one up. This was extremely thrilling. It's more of a thriller than a mystery. The ending, not my fave. Still a 4 stars. Still a 4 star read. Okay, next book, Hairpin Bridge. It's about this girl whose twin committed suicide, and you follow her trying to find the killer of her sister. And you also get the main girl's point of view from her sister's point of view. Like, the main girl is imagining what happened to her sister at the end moments of her life. So you're kind of getting the sister's point of view, but not really. It's very inaccurate about like what she thought happened to her sister actually didn't happen. This was pretty twisty. I actually had forgotten I had read this. What I've come to realize is Taylor Adams is not the author for me. I would give it a 3 stars. I gave his last book 2 stars, which was No Exit. So this one was better for me. But like, why would I read 3 star books? Okay, anyway, all his books are too much thrills and too much action, where you're like hit over the head with the amount of action it has. Like sometimes when you're just like go go go, it gets boring, because at one point you have to like build up the tension, and if you just like let let it all go and just like get to the action, it's not as fun if there is no build up to it. That's how I feel about like really thrilling, action packed thrillers. Okay, the next book is A Good Kill, which I don't know why I picked this one up. It might have been because it was in my library. My library was heavily pushing this one for some reason. Maybe because like no one was like picking this one up, and so the library wanted more people to read it, I guess. It's about this detective who is investigating the school shooting and also the death of his family members. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember what the conclusion to the case was. I don't remember anything. So 2.5. Okay, what I've come to realize is like detectives who go really out of line and like to find justice, and like they really toe the line between legal and illegal are not my thing. Okay, like it might be glamorized in the media because you see all the detectives like hitting witnesses and stuff to get things out of them, which I think is really bad. Okay, like something, if it, like, I know it's fiction and it's different, but like I really don't like that. I really don't like reading about that. I don't care like how much you're sure that the person did it. You just don't like hit them to get a confession out of them. Yes, that's my hot take. Okay, the next book is The Killing Kind. This is about this lawyer who is a defense attorney, and she gets the wrong guy out of jail. So he beat his girlfriend, and you see her like get him out without any sentencing. But after she gets him out, she realizes how dangerous he is because he starts stalking her. There's also this other thing that's going on that ties in. Okay, so like I'm doing a really bad job of explaining it because there are at least 5 different plot points that are going on simultaneously in this book that it's kind of hard to follow. But the gist you need to know is someone's stalking her. She's finding that bloodstains on her bed, and like finding that someone is coming and going in her house, but no one's taking her seriously. And she starts feeling that she's going crazy, even though you see her really being competent at her job and getting criminals out of jail, basically. It was really long. Okay, so like the first few times I tried reading it, I was kind of like, meh, why do people like this? But once like I really like to reading it, so I was like on a walk and I finished the audiobook I was listening to, because I listen to audiobooks while I walk. Sometimes I like walk places because I'm too cheap to take an Uber. Like, is it just me or has Ubers gotten really expensive? Okay, anyway, so I was like walking, and then it started raining, and and then I saw the cover. Then I was like, okay, this is going to be the perfect book while reading, and it really was, because by the time I came home, I was like 50% of the way through, because the walk was like an hour there, an hour back, and I was really invested in the main character, even though the main character was getting pretty horrible people out of jail. You couldn't feel but sympathize with her because no one believed her, even though she has shown great judgment throughout her entire life. I highly recommend this book. If you're into something really slow, something that really builds up the tension, that has really good payoff at the end, I highly recommend this book. I'd give it a 4.5 stars. Although I would say it's not for everyone because it's quite slow at some points. Like, there were a few times when like it's too much suspense that's building up, and there are too many like diversions that happens, and like I said, there are too many subplots to all keep track of, so you might like get confused if you don't read it in the same sitting, basically. Okay, next up, the Ophelia Girls. I don't know where I heard about this book. I thought I would really like it. uh, I didn't though. So there are these two plot lines. Once in the past, where there is this group of girls, where where like they're really obsessed with like these paintings, and they like try to emulate the lives of the people in the paintings. And then in the present day, the main the one of the girls' daughter is 17, and she's having this really inappropriate relationship with her uh, mother's best friend. Like, don't worry, it doesn't romanticize the relationship. You kind of like see that the author thinks that this relationship wasn't okay, so don't worry about that. But yeah, so like I was kind of invested in the present point of view, where like you were following this girl who is basically being groomed by this really charming and handsome man, but like no one's saying anything because he's handsome. Anyway, and they also like live in this like really secluded house, so like no one really knows what's going on. And then in the past, there's the sapphic relationship that goes wrong. Like, I read this trope a million times this year. Like, for some reason, the mystery thriller trope of the year was sapphic relationship that goes wrong. Anyway, this trope is really popular right now, and I'm not a huge fan of this trope. I'm kind of bored of this, honestly. I read 3 books at least with this trope. So yeah, that's why I didn't enjoy it as much. 2.5 stars. If it were just the present point of view, I feel like I would have enjoyed it much more. But since like you like get the past point of view where I'm not invested at all, just like cut out half the stars for me. This is a very slow book, okay, and the writing is amazing. I cannot deny how good the writing is and how good the building of tension is, but I still didn't enjoy it. Like, I can acknowledge that the writing was good and the slow burnness, and it was the good kind of slow. Like, this was not the book for me at the time that I read it. Okay, the next book is the next book is Pretty Little Wife, and that was one of the best books I read in the year. One of my favorite thrillers probably ever. It's about this woman who murdered her husband, but her husband's dead body goes missing. And then there are these murders that are happening around town that the main character's husband was somehow involved in. This was so good, so fast paced, so fun, such good building of tension, such good plot twists, and the small town vibes, and like the wife who gave up everything for her husband who didn't appreciate her enough. It had all the tropes I liked. I know it's a domestic thriller, but it didn't like, you don't like, it's not that typical domestic thriller where you're just like following the husband and the wife. This like goes much further, and then there are these like serial killings, which also ties in really well with the book, with the main storyline. This was really intense, really fast paced, really thrilling. If you're looking for something like that, pick this one up. That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I still don't know how to end this video, so bye.